got a couple unboxings for today. First up is one from Enjoy the Ride Records. And we have the Goosebumps television show soundtrack on vinyl, obviously. So we got the G up front with all the different characters in it. The back we got R.L. Stine overlooking the town. If I remember correctly, I think they actually ended up putting like all this on Spotify right when they announced that they were doing it. I think they also came out with a cassette of it that was available earlier, but I'm a vinyl guy, so I had to pick it up. So excuse my dusty ass table here, but what we've got is a split color vinyl. So we got the black on one side and this translucent with green splatter throughout. We got Slappy here in the middle of side A. There were a couple different variants of this, but I was a little late finding it, so I got one of the more common ones, I believe. And then on our opposite side, we've got the Haunted Mask there in the middle. Alright, I was weirded out for a minute. I was like, why is it playing the same song again? It is a unreleased extended version of the original theme. So, yeah, both sides start with the classic. But beautiful cover on this. Now you can see it a little easier now it's not in the plastic wrap. I love all the characters in here. Next one is one of those modern issues where you pre-order something and then you forget it's coming, and then supply chain stuff is a pain in the butt. So it's been so long I barely remember what it is I ordered. So this is from Pentagram Peter Pan, who I've bought a bunch of stuff from before. And let's see what we got. Almost lost a sticker, the same design of what I was just showing. And I think these are actually just shorts. So they are Monster Squad shorts. I thought those were pretty cool. And then on the other leg, got all the monsters. My collection of horror t-shirts is pretty extensive, so some of these companies like Pentagram Peter Pan or Rucking Fountain do shorts. I try to grab them. I mean, not all the time, but when I like the design on them, just because it's, you know, something nice to have to lounge around in or whatever, then I can still have horror crap for everything. So that makes me happy. Outside the Box Reviews presents extremely janky mold making. I have a box here, where I poured a silicone mold for a goddamn machete, and the best way I could figure out how to set it up, and I did a knife like this recently actually too, and it worked really well, but it's a clamp on the blade, and it's propped up onto cans of spray paint. I had to take another end off one of the clamps, like a same kind of clamp, and put it on the end so it was level, and then I had to use a piece of wood to counterbalance the machete, because it's heavier than the knife was. Hopefully this should work well, but it is janky as hell looking. So I just got back from a local haunt called Terror on the Timber Farm. I say local, it was a little bit north of Jacksonville itself, but it was held at what I guess during the day is a shooting range. I just kind of sat deep in the woods, and I thought it would be cool to check out because it was outdoors and going through the woods as opposed to a lot of the haunts that I go to, which are indoors, inside buildings, and, you know, much more manufactured environments. So the thing I can compare this to the best is the Stream and Scream, which was the drive-through haunt that I did in 2020. Both in the fact that it was kind of like off in the woods somewhere, and that it operated similarly where they would actually let you reserve time slots during the night, and you were kind of supposed to arrive during your time slot to be let in, so it wasn't a bunch of people all showing up at one time. They can kind of meter things out. So I ended up going with my friend Colin. We got there for the 9 o'clock group, which once you're there, once the group's called, you do still have to wait in line to go in because they do pulse people through, but that actually ended up being a benefit. So when you're like next up, they put you in front of these gates, and there's some like props of scarecrow monsters on them that they take your photo with. And then once enough time has passed, they open up the gates for you and let you go in. And it's really cool because even without scare actors, they have some very like dim lighting out there, just kind of enough to show you where the path is through the woods. Every so often they do have little like stations with decorations and scenes set up, and just being out on foot in the woods, it
was just very cool to experience it that way. I don't know if I've ever done a haunt that was set up this way. Like I said, Stream and Scream is the only thing I could compare it to, but because that was built around being in your vehicle, it was a very different experience. So it's really just one path that you follow through all of this, but they have it listed on their website as being different sections. Honestly, the first 2 sections I did not realize were 2 separate things. They felt like one cohesive bit or semi-cohesive bit, so I'm not entirely sure where one becomes the other. I'll probably get the first name wrong. It says Fadios. This is kind of going through, like, you see some kind of generic Halloween stuff. There's like a voodoo shack out there where the voodoo priest and actually 2 voodoo people out there, like, kind of getting you into the area or whatever. I guess you're supposed to be going through like abandoned campsites, or like the people before you supposedly perished on their path through this and you're kind of following in their footsteps. There's one cool thing where we just walked out and there was like a set and there's just this big dude kind of in a Jason costume just in the middle of the path. And he didn't really do anything to us, but he just kind of stood there intimidatingly, and it was kind of cool. A lot of it was super dimly lit, so like I couldn't even see this guy's face, and he was just like this hulking, creepy looking figure. And this kind of continues on for a while through the woods. Some scares are simple, of just people off to the side of the trail making noise. Some of them had like the car horn kind of things to give you jump scares. There were parts where there was just dim lights, or a part where there were strobe lights that made it hard to see. A lot of sections where they're pumping in fog and smoke and everything. I think the last part of that section, there was actually a thing where somebody was pumping in just a ton of fog, and then this guy in like a Baphomet goat head mask comes running out of the fog. Like, we had already passed him, and this guy comes running up behind us in this, and just seeing, you know, backlit with heavy fog behind him, it was a really cool, creepy sight. You then get to a section where there are, I think it was 2 buildings that you had to go through. The first was like a cabin, and it is literally just a little cabin in the path. There's like a chain link fence off to the side, and you actually have to open up the door to go in. As we were approaching the building, somebody jumped up on the chain link fence as a scare, like a monster out there. And then as we walked into the cabin, he was actually pounding on the window as we walked through. And there was another scare actor a little deeper into that cabin. And there was a little bit more outdoor bit, and then there was another building that there was no immediate door on the front side of it, but you could see inside it was like lit in bright greens and heavy smoke, and there were some mannequins in there, and it was like you were going through like a factory. I think it was supposed to be like a meat plant or something, and yeah, there was just stuff you could basically just see to your waist level, and everything below that was green fog, and there was a scare actor hiding in the fog. I think she said something about, are you the police? This is my meth lab I made home. And all I could think of was just like, yeah, it's Florida. That's pretty much par for the course, right? That one, there was like, yeah, a drapery kind of covering up the exit. And honestly, I couldn't find the exit for a minute there. It was really hard to see where that was just because it was so disorienting in there. Coming out of that, I think where that trail ended, if I remember correctly, there is a part where you're kind of walking through a larger clearing, and then out of the side, this guy in, I think it's supposed to be a Wendigo costume, because that's the 2 trails there. One is, I think the second one was Lycos, and I guess that one's supposed to be Wendigo themed, and this guy in the Wendigo costume, it's like one of those ones where he has like the extenders on his arms, so he's really like walking on all 4s, and he was like doing this cool like sideways walk with it that just looked really otherworldly and creepy, and everything in that scene like was well thought out. This kind of goes for a lot of this stuff. They really did a good job with it, but this one was really impressive because they definitely thought of, you know, both the space and how the actor was going to approach the people coming through. They thought of the costume and how the lighting would reflect off of it, where you'd only see the bone white, and the black like stocking parts that I think were there don't show up very well, so it just gives this look of a big skeletal creature. Just a really cool way to cap that off. At least I believe it was the cap off on that. This is the first time at any haunt that I could think of where I feel like I was walking too slowly. Usually I'm the one walking too fast through these things, just because I'm not like jumping back in terror at things popping up. But as we were getting to the cabin, there's actually a group behind us were getting really close to us. So I guess they were going through faster than we were, but I think we were just kind of enjoying the atmosphere of it. I feel like going through the woods like that, you know, it's the safest, closest thing to being in an actual horror movie. Like, you know, being inside of a haunted house, it feels like it is, you know, like an official thing. I don't know. But just being out in the woods and having stuff and not knowing where stuff's going to come from and having the true darkness of the woods, you know, the real darkness of real night, it adds to it. After that, you come up to a booth, and they're handing out like Orbeez water pellet guns, little like, you know, pistol-looking guns with just beads that I guess are water gel based, and they're you pull the trigger, it's like automatic, I guess, and it's a zombie shooting section of the thing. This part they call the alley, and the zombie targets are all static, but there's several like groupings of them as you walk through, and it was just kind of fun to be able to, you know, shoot and do some target practice on them. Like I said, the place is a shooting range during the day, so I think it was trying to incorporate what they are into the theme of their haunt, which I can't blame them for. I think that's smart. They were definitely trying to promote their day business along with just having the haunt there. I was kind of conserving the ammo because I was wondering if they were going to have some live actors, because I know there are places that have like zombie paintball and stuff, but that never came up. So I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna make us waste all of our shots here and then have like zombie actors come out and harass us, but no. It would have been cool, but they did not do that. The next section, they include it in their list of haunts. I don't really think it's much of a haunt. They call it the birds. It's a section that has like one guy out in the middle, just kind of for photo ops, more or less. They have like, I think there was some restrooms out there. There was like food stands, stuff like that. And then a section that I think is just part of their normal day business again, where they had some skeet shooting set up. And everybody got, I think, one free shot with the shotgun if they wanted it, to try to shoot one of these clay pigeons. As far as what I saw sitting there watching people, nobody was hitting it.
In the air?
Which I have to imagine probably a lot of people have never shot at anything before. And then also at night, it was like a black light reactive pigeon they were throwing out there. So it glowed orange as it went, but yeah, nobody was hitting it. And I think they said, like, if you posted something positive about the event on social media, they would give you a second shot. So that was kind of an optional part, not really horror themed. Obviously, you don't want to be putting people firing live ammunition alongside, like, scare actors. And then the last section is Quinn's Revenge, which is clown themed. So it's a much shorter section of the trail. Like I said, I did think the first two were one thing, so maybe it was equal to one of those, but just with my perception at the time, it felt like it was much shorter. It's kind of cool leading up because you are going through more of the dimly lit woods again, and they're playing like laughing, like sinister laughing in there. And because it's winding around, like it takes a while to get to the source of the sound. And I think it's just a recording. I didn't see anything that was supposed to be like where it was coming from, but it is ominous to be going through the woods hearing that. The clown theme, look, I'll just say I'm kind of sick and tired of clowns and haunted houses. I had a realization earlier in this year, I forget if I put it in a video or not, but I'm like, I had forgotten that clowns were actually a thing outside of like horror. Like I honestly forgot that clowns were supposed to be something completely the opposite of what they are in a lot of horror stuff. It's just such a generic trope at this point. And calling it Quinn's Revenge, they definitely had some scare actors doing a very Harley Quinn-esque voice. I think they tried to do a decent job with it. There was a lot of blacklight stuff in there, including with some clowns like blacklight face paint and just like smiles and stuff that looked pretty creepy. The main actress that we ran into at the beginning of it, I think she looked like she was tied up at first and like taunting people, but then she kind of followed us and the group ahead of us and was kind of harassing us the whole way through. I believe it was the same actress at least. But everything here was kind of more crammed together. It was a little more just, I don't know, it felt shorter and rushed, and you know, the clown thing just didn't do much for me. So I think this was kind of a less enjoyable ending to it after the first two sections being a lot of fun. In the middle section, not really being much of a section. And there's kind of like a long straight path with a lot of nothing on it leading you back to the parking lot. Kind of wish they would have found a way to do something here, but it also was like right next to the woods from the first section. So maybe it would have just been too much cross contamination, especially with like sound or anything, or even lights. So that might have been hard to do, I don't know. But yeah, I had a lot of fun at this. Like the first two sections were great. It was kind of weird going through the shooting range section, like the actual skeet shooting, not the, I guess the three sections. I keep saying two, but three, including the zombie shooting section. The two haunted sections and the zombie section. Like those three were a lot of fun. I just kind of wish it would have gone almost back to the first section kind of stuff instead of doing the clowns. The clowns just felt a little lame. I do wish that section was larger. I don't know if they could do anything about that. I think it's just what's there, you know, for their normal use, and I don't really know if there's an option to extend it out any further or anything like that, but that would have been cool if that was an option to do. So yeah, I mean, that's three things I really liked, two things that kind of fell a little bit flat, but they weren't terrible. So I think that overall it's a very recommendable thing to check out. I believe this was their first year. I could be wrong about that. I do hope they bring it back. I would definitely give it another shot next year for sure. They did also say on their website that like the grounds are supposed to be actually haunted, supposedly, but they had no like links to anything talking about what that is. And I kind of wish they would have, if there really is something that's like a legend going around that grounds, kind of wish they would have played that up a little bit more. I mean, heck, with how creepy it is in the dark, if they had some nights where instead of doing the haunt, they did like ghost hunting out there, I could see that being really cool. Just, you know, take the scare actors out, just leave like the pathway lighting and let you come in with like EMF detectors or something. I don't know. It could almost be kind of fun out there. Honestly, I was half waiting to just run into like a bear in the middle of the woods, but there's probably enough people passing through that it's going to keep most wildlife off of the trail. But yeah, had a lot of fun with that. I think I said this at the end of my Hallow Scream Orlando video. I don't know if this is my last haunt of the year or not. I'd like to try to hit one or two more around here, but my schedule is looking stupid right now, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I guess only time will tell. Alright, it is time for one of my favorite Halloween traditions, the Cavity Colors Spook Bag. Filming in a very different location than usual right now because it is crunch time getting ready for Spooky Empire, and I have prop knives and machetes and whatever on 10,000 different surfaces in my house right now, and just finding a good spot to film this was difficult because it's just insanity at the moment. So if you haven't seen me do one of these in the past, the Spook Bag is an annual item that Cavity Colors offers. It is basically a limited release. I believe they usually sell out within minutes of going live each year, and they tell you what the shirt is that you get with the bag up front, but everything else in it is a mystery. So, pop this thing open and see what we got this year. So there is the bag itself. I'm trying to remember if they do different designs every year. It does have the date on it, but yeah, we got like a scarecrow on the bag. They're all just orange bags of black text. And then, since I know the shirt, I'm going to try to get that out of here without pulling everything else out. And there we go with this year's shirt. This is Monster Night, but it is obviously Monster Squad kind of themed without really being Monster Squad. You got all like the classic Universal style monsters on there. I think it's a very cool take this year. I do wish they would bring back the Goosebumps tribute shirts, but you know what? I like some variety too. So yeah, that is everything I know that is in this bag. So first up, there's a candle for your jack-o'-lantern, caramel apple. Honestly, just want to see what this smells like because I feel like I could kind of smell it through the bag. Yeah, that smells good. It smells like caramel and sugar. Oh, sick. I actually needed a new pair of non-prescription sunglasses. They're black on the outside, but like orange on the inside. I 100% cannot see myself in the viewfinder, so I could look like a complete idiot, and I would never know. But yeah, I'll have to see what those actually look like on me. Next up is a bumper sticker. Honk if you like scary movies or heart scary movies. Pretty cool. It's got that little jack-o'-lantern character on there that was on the bag itself. Or scarecrow, or kind of both. Oh, this is cool. A magnet of a VHS with pumpkin guts and says Cavity Jack's Revenge on it. Absolutely love this. This is great. As with a lot of Cavity Colors releases, we get a bookmark with the same art as the shirt. Next up, we got a little plastic jack-o'-lantern. I think it pops open. Okay, there's something in here. 20% off coupon code for Cavity Colors. I'm sure I will use that. Very cool. Maybe I don't put it back in the pumpkin, so I actually remember to use it. First piece of candy of the year. This is like a, maybe like an orange jawbreaker, or orange colored at least. Got a pair of socks. I forget if this is the same design they've done in the past or a new design that's just kind of similar, but definitely a cool addition. Got some gummy fangs in here. A sticker pack, gruesome gourds with a bunch of gross looking pumpkins. Very cool. Keeping with the pumpkin theme, we've got a pin with like a bleeding jack-o'-lantern skull face. Some fun dip. Did Flanders name this shit? So I think last year they did a Candyman chapstick that was like honey flavored. This year we get some bubblegum flavored Nada themed chapstick from They Live. Some zombie Sour Patch Kids, my favorite Halloween candy. Well, actually, I don't know if I've ever had the zombie kind, but just Sour Patch Kids in general. And I pulled these out together by accident, but a Tootsie Roll and some Smarties. I think just one last thing in the bottom here is a, well, my camera doesn't want to focus on it, but it's a jawbreaker. And I mean, it's a jawbreaker. I don't think you have to focus on that too much. So yeah, a really nice haul out of this. I love getting this every year. Kind of feels like trick-or-treating, but you know, without going door to door and without being a weird adult trying to trick-or-treat. You know, you get a little bit of candy, you get some kind of cool, unique stuff from the bag. The shirt's always really cool. And yeah, I feel like this year's was a really nice haul. Probably a little lighter on the candy than it has been in some years. Not a complaint. Definitely don't need a bunch of candy from this bag. But I mean, there's a nice little variety even within that. And then having the sunglasses are really cool, especially because I needed some. That magnet is freaking awesome. The socks are cool. Some good stickers in there. And a coupon code. So definitely not complaining about any of that. I'm pretty darn happy with what I got. So yeah, just a quick unboxing on all this. And I will see you guys next time. Later.